Welcome to The Explainer. The UK's drone rules have had a huge shakeup, kicking in on January 1st, 2026. Now, whether you're flying just for fun or if it's part of your job, there are definitely some new things you need to know. So we're going to break it all down into a simple, clear guide for you. So let's get right to it. Are you ready? Look, these new rules are going to affect everyone, from the most seasoned pilots out there to people just unboxing their very first drone. Let's make sure you're all set to get airborne, not just safely, but legally too. All right, here's the game plan. We've split this into 6 key areas. We're going to kick things off with the essential paperwork. Then we'll cover the absolute core rules of flying, and we'll even take a peek at some new tech that's just around the corner. So let's jump in.
First things first, let's talk about the paperwork, your license and registration. These are the absolute non-negotiables you have to get sorted before you even think about spinning up those propellers.
Okay. The first massive change you need to know about for 2026 is this number right here, 100 grams. Now, you might remember the old threshold was 250 grams, but they've dropped it a lot. This is a huge deal because it means a ton of those popular, smaller camera drones that used to be exempt now fall under the registration rules.
So let's clear this up because it can be confusing. You need 2 different IDs. Think of it like a car. The flyer ID on the left, that's your driver's license. It proves you, the pilot, know the rules of the road, or, well, the sky. The operator ID, on the other hand, that's the drone's license plate. It belongs to the aircraft itself. So if you own and fly your own drone, yep, you're going to need both.
All right, let's move on to the 3 golden rules of the sky. I'm talking about the non-negotiables that you have to follow every single time you fly, and it doesn't matter what kind of drone you're flying.
These 3 rules are really the bedrock of flying safely. First up, stay below 120 meters. That's about 400 feet. This keeps you well clear of planes and helicopters. Second, always keep your drone where you can see it with your own eyes. It's your best defense against collisions. And third, and this is a key new rule, if you're flying at night, you now absolutely need a green flashing light. It helps everyone on the ground know you're up there. Okay, so you've got your IDs, you know the core rules, but the big question is, where can you actually fly this thing? Well, it all comes down to your drone's weight and class, and it's all neatly organized into these 3 categories. This table lays out the whole risk-based system, and honestly, it's all about how close you can fly to people. The A1 category, that's for your tiny drones, and it gives you the most freedom. You can even fly over people, just not big crowds. A2 is the middle ground. You can fly near people, but you need an extra qualification, the A2 COFC, to do it. And finally, A3 is for the big drones, and you've got to keep them far away from everybody. It's a simple idea. The lighter the drone, the fewer the restrictions. You've figured out your flight category, but hang on, your pre-flight checks are not done yet. You now have to check for any critical airspace restrictions that might be in your area. And this isn't a one-time thing. You have to do this check before every single flight. And these restrictions really come in 2 flavors. You've got your permanent no-fly zones. Think airports, prisons, military bases. Those are always there. But, and this is the tricky part, you also have temporary restrictions that can pop up with almost no warning for things like a big concert or an emergency incident. The only way to be certain you're clear for takeoff is to check a drone safety app every single time you fly. No exceptions. And if you're wondering why this is so critical, just let this sink in. Breaching a restricted zone is, by far, the fastest way for a drone pilot to end up in some serious legal trouble. They take this stuff very seriously, and saying, "I didn't know," just won't cut it. So, being a good pilot isn't just about what you do in the air. You also have some really important duties on the ground, especially when it comes to things like insurance and people's privacy. Now, when it comes to insurance, the law draws a really thick, clear line in the sand. If you're just flying for fun, as a hobbyist, insurance is optional. Now, it's highly recommended because you're still responsible if anything goes wrong. But the very second your flight has any kind of commercial reason behind it, that specific insurance becomes mandatory. It's not a choice, it's the law. And what about privacy? Well, a lot of people get tied up in knots about this, but the rule is actually pretty simple. A drone camera is just a camera. The fact that it's flying doesn't grant you any extra rights. So if you're filming and you can identify a person, then all the usual data protection laws, the GDPR stuff, kicks in. Simple as that. And here is a little tripwire you really need to be aware of. If you're just filming for yourself, for your own memories, you're usually covered by something called the household exemption. But that protection disappears the moment you upload that footage to a public place like YouTube or Instagram. The second you hit publish, you're in a whole different ballgame, and the full data protection rules can apply. All right, finally, let's take a little peek into the future and talk about a piece of technology that's being brought in to help manage our ever busier skies. It's called remote ID. So what is remote ID? Well, the easiest way to think about it is like a digital number plate for your drone. It's constantly broadcasting basic flight info, like where the drone is and your operator ID number, over a short range. This lets the authorities, like the police, quickly see who is flying and where. Now, the good news is there's no need to panic. This is being rolled out in stages. Starting in January 2026, it's required on all new class-marked drones that are sold. For everybody else flying older drones, you've got until January 2028 to get compliant, and you'll be able to do that with a simple little add-on module. So there you have it. That's your 2026 pre-flight briefing. The sky is definitely getting busier, but if you've got the right paperwork, you understand these rules, and you have the right tech, you are all set. And remember, this isn't just about following rules to avoid a fine. It's about being a responsible pilot and making sure everyone can share the air safely. Fly smart and fly safe.